How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Mezcal Buzz Experience, where we sit down with some interesting people, have some great conversations while we're tasting some new mezcales. I'm Marco Gutierrez, your host, and I'm here with...
I'm Jack, and we are back. Our first guest of the new season. We've got Joseph Solis from Maison Solis Fragrance, and we're so excited to have you here.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, first guest of the season. Well, it's interesting because we met almost a year ago. No, about
more than 6 months.
Yeah, this was the summer, so we're almost close.
We met at a Salud Amigos Fest.
We met Salud Amigos Fest. Shout out to Pepe and Alejandra,
Yes.
LA Tequila Club, who are, huge part of the community. But yes, my name is Joseph D. Solis. I am the founder of Maison Solis, and we'll get into the name in a little bit so you guys understand why I use the word Maison. But we are a luxury lifestyle brand rooted in cocktail culture. So we launched the company with our bar essentials, which we'll play with a little bit later as we make a cocktail. And I work with collaborate with a 4th generation copper cooperage in the mountains of Michoacán. So that's a labor of love. And a couple years ago, I launched the world's first ever fragrance house inspired by agave and expressions of tequila and mezcal.
Amazing.
I'm sure we'll jump into the story and the details, but that kind of paints a picture. After being in wine and spirits for over 25 years, just to kind of give you guys an idea, I kind of merged my passion for other things, artisanal products, luxury goods, with the experience and knowledge and appreciation for spirits, specifically with an agave.
Sweet. As we get started, we're gonna get into the details of everything you just mentioned, because there's a lot of questions were coming to my mind right now. But I was like, hey, let's start with a nice mezcal or kick off the conversation.
What a great way to start.
Yeah. And so, Jack, you brought this for us.
I just picked this up actually on my way over here from Layden's Liquor, just down the street. Shout out Moose over there. But yeah, it's a Tobalá, and
This is from Prolijo.
from Prolijo.
Yeah. And we're looking at Maestro Mezcalero Oscar Ramirez Santiago. And this is from the region of Etla.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Etla. And it's a Tobalá.
Mm-hmm. And it's a Tobalá, and I had never actually heard of the brand, but it looked pretty good. And Moose usually has some good stuff there. So
Really beautiful on the nose, guys.
Shout out to Moose, as you mentioned that, and over there at Layden's Liquor, it's a sleeper for sure. If you get a chance to visit Layden's Liquor, he has a phenomenal selection of agave spirits there that you'd be surprised walking in there. You'd be like, whoa,
yeah,
Nice. Okay.
all right.
right, yeah, just off the rip on the nose.
It's gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
It's really complex. I really love the depth, the earthiness. There's a mint, sort of menthol thing that I really love a lot. And I also pick up some chile, like specifically like guajillo or chile de árbol, which is really nice. Vegetal, not too smoky.
Not at all. I don't pick up smokiness, and I was gonna say everything you mentioned is definitely complex, but well balanced, because nothing like sticks out like a sore thumb or something. It's very... I do get some florals in it as well.
Yeah, it's really, really, really beautiful.
I've said it before. What I love about mezcal is that I could just like get one of those things and just breathe it in. Like I could drink mezcal all day, of course, but I could absolutely just keep revisiting and
Yeah. If we ever have another pandemic, just lace your little mask today. He'd be smelling all day.
That's a good idea.
Trust me, I've done it.
Cheers, you guys.
Cheers, brother. Cheers. Thank you for having me.
Of course, yeah.
Looking
Great
forward
see
to this
you.
conversation.
Joseph,
Wow. Interesting. Canela forward. Yeah, it's nice.
you mentioned canela, and right now that I'm tasting it, I get like a like bark kind of too. Like it's not woody, but it's not herbaceous. It's like bark is what I could I used to eat bark as a child, just so you guys know. Cool. Joseph, can you fill us in a bit as we continue? You were touching on some of your background and what led to Maison?
Maison.
Maison. Okay.
Maison Solis.
What would you say was like the start of that journey into where we are today, right? Like, did it start in spirits? Did it start behind the bar? Did it start?
Yeah, I'll take you. I mean, we could probably sit here for hours, and ain't nobody got time for that. So I'm gonna give you Cliff Note versions. So I come from a really large family. So just to be, specific, I come from a Chicano, Mexicano, and mixed Filipino family. And I grew up in Watsonville, California. And if you guys know the history of Watsonville, California, when you look back in like the early 1900s, 1920s, 1930s, when the first wave of Filipinos came, they came with themselves. They didn't bring women. And for those of you who don't know the history of Filipinos, it's very much like African Americans during, that whole era where there were signs no Filipinos allowed. Filipinos weren't allowed to date, marry, talk for that matter with white women. There were no Filipino women. So Filipinos ended up marrying Mexicanas. And the reason being is obviously gorgeous. But number two, when you take a look at the history of the Philippines, both conquered by the Spanish, so there's a lot of language similarities, Catholic. So, Filipinos are some of the only Asians that are actually Catholic. So it just kind of made sense. So my family on the Filipino side married Mexican, and the Mexican side married Filipino. So where I come from and the region, there's literally hundreds of families that are mixed like that. So it's a very specific story. And as we go into the story of mezcal, you guys obviously know if it wasn't for the Philippines in the 1600s, when the Spanish took them to Colima, in Mexico, and Filipinos taught Mexico distillation, we wouldn't have mezcal, tequila, raíz, whatever it may be, any sort of agave distilled spirit without that cultural connection.
It's so funny. We were just talking about that right before you got here. We were talking kind of about the history and when the Filipinos or when the Spanish brought over the distillation.
Yeah, and I like to think that I'm a living manifestation of that cultural exchange in that moment. So I'm very, very proud. But to answer your question, I come from a really large family. I'm talking like any holiday, any barbecues, 50, 60 people. And I would watch my family cook and I would watch my family drink. And as I started to get around, junior high, started dabbling in terms of like cocktails, of course, not legally, but it's family. Who cares? Like, and my love of entertaining and kind of the root, even for cocktails or even the line that I have now, is always about bringing people together to celebrate life and special moments that are every single day.
Love that.
Yeah, so that's the root.
I love how you mentioned like the cultural background that you just gave us right now. And to me, one of the things that is beautiful about mezcal, what we were talking about earlier, is how it aligns with the discovery of what is Mexico now, right? The Spanish came, they brought with the Filipinos, with other technologies from like the Arabs still and different
Al pastor,
cultures.
we wouldn't have Al pastor if it wasn't for, the Arabs. So
People wouldn't think of it. Mexico's really like also a big melting pot, right? People say the U.S. is like, we're a melting pot. It's like,
yeah, I've been going down a rabbit hole really studying Afro-Mexicanos. One of the most underrepresented segments, cultures within culture, if you would, of Mexico. And it's fascinating. It's fascinating. I think if that story was told a lot more, we'd be in a lot different scenario when it comes to community acceptance, etc. So you're right. Mexico definitely is a melting pot. And let's not even begin with, the Chinos. Like, we just keep going, right? So,
and then with that, then bridging what started with like family events, seeing how the culture really is bringing you into this world. Where does it turn, if we could call it professional, or when do you start entering this world professional?
So so there is a restaurant in Watsonville where I'm from called Cilantros. They're also purveyors of, and I'm sure that you guys know, Artenom tequila, right? And so I started working there when I was like in junior high. And I learned a lot of cocktails, and I learned hospitality, the beginning of hospitality. And I always shout out Jose Espinosa, el patron, who was a stickler, who really taught me about hospitality. From that point, I got into nightclubs. And at 16, 17, I was running nightclubs. And I moved to San Francisco for college. I went to USF, but at the same time, I was working at one of the largest nightclubs on the West Coast. So I was doing promotions with brands like Cuervo back in the day at 17, 18, not even legal to drink, but and it was in Santa Cruz. So you have, beach volleyball festival sponsored by all the brands. So I was already doing brand collaborations, programming, added value, experiential, all the stuff. These buzzwords came out later. I was doing that shit at 16 and 17 years old. No budget, didn't know what the hell it was. All I knew again was let's bring people together to have a good time
Yeah.
and let's monetize. So when I moved to New York, I was working at agencies working within wine and spirits. So any house that you can think of, I have either worked for, collaborated with, consulted for, the Moet Hennessy's, the Bacardis, the William Grant, all of the brands I had worked for. And in the early 2000s, when what I say is like pre-Latinx, some people don't like that term, for all intensive purposes, I'm saying that here, I would be working with these, liquor brands and spirit brands, and we'd have to find Latino cocktails. So I'm hiring all the best mixologists in New York, and it's like, bro, just because you're muddling a jalapeno doesn't mean it's a Mexican cocktail. Like, let's keep it 1,000. So I was like, fuck it, I can do this myself. So I literally started dabbling in cocktails. I had the background. I was going to distilleries already. My first distillery trip for tequila was in 2005. And I have a picture of it. And I remember the first time I stood in the agave fields in Atotonilco. That was the inspiration for my Blanco fragrance. Like literally being in the red soil with these beautiful turquoise, 7-foot agave, warm, sun-kissed with the breeze. I said, I'm going to capture this one day as a perfume. And that literally inspired the fragrance line because we started with Blanco.
Interesting.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So that's interesting because even then, so the fragrance side was already also instilled in your, like, you recognize that even then,
Yeah.
and that's still kind of a ways away.
Yeah. Well, not really, because, I came from very humble beginnings. I mentioned to you guys earlier, I'm a product of immigrants. My family met in the fresas and the lechugas in Central California working the fields. So, we didn't come from a lot in terms of money, in terms of bank accounts, but we came from a lot in terms of love and strength. And I started working when I was 13 years old. Literally lied about my age and started working. And I would take my money and I would give it to my mom. And, mom would pay for the power bills. We would pay for, food, literally like survival. But I would stash my little coins. And then when I built up enough, I would run to like J.C. Penney's or Macy's and buy perfume. And the reason being is that perfume for me is really about fantasy. It's escapism. It's inspiration. I would nose perfume and go to another place. And I would always tell myself, it's going to get better. There's something out there. Like perfume is memory, the same way that mezcal or the same way that agave spirit or spirits in general are also memory. I think mezcal a little bit more because it's still connected. It's still sacred. It's still of the people. So I always tell that story when I talk about the mezcal fragrance that I created. But for me, it started there. And since I was that age, I would buy, and I'm sure for those of you out there that are our age, like Dracar Noir or CK1, right? Nothing luxury, definitely not niche, definitely not global. I didn't know any better. And as you know better, you do better. And as I started to work, when I started to travel, I started to learn more. But fragrance for me was always sacred. It was always inspirational and aspirational. So that's where it started.
Sick.
That's amazing.
I love that anecdote of how, as a young man going to JCPenney, and it taking you to like another place, because you're right. I think I mean, you went deep with that though, because we talk about it like fragrance or aromas wake up memories. We're talking about mezcal and agave spirits, or you could be somewhere and smell the perfume of a woman that walks by. It might remind you of your grandma or something. But
Absolutely.
to imagine you as a young man going there to the counter like for that, I think it speaks a lot, and it shows why we're here today.
Yeah, thank
It makes
you.
sense.
And going to that counter with a bag full of pennies and nickels. Like, I literally would save up. I mean, that shit was probably what, $19.99 or something. But at that point, I didn't have the means, but I had the drive.
Amazing.
Cool. Also, and we'll go into another mezcal tasting soon.
Yeah.
And what I want to lead into that, and Jumpin' Jack, if you think of something that we want to add, but is you then have I'm jumping forward now to your all that experience also is an LA Spirits judge, right? So
Yes.
I want to jump into like how that experience evolves into bringing you into that role.
Sure.
And I would like to grab a new mezcal.
Yeah, do you want to grab another mezcal, and we'll be right back with Joseph Solis. All right, and we're back with Joseph Solis. We've got another great mezcal up here. We've got an HonoriAmor, Espadín, your friend down in Mexico, Marco, and we were talking kind of into Joseph, your journey from this young kid going to the JCPenney fragrance counter, and kind of where you have ended up. You've had this career in spirits, and really, I think you said something earlier that's really interesting to me, and it's a constant theme that we bring up, and then when you're tasting different mezcals and you're smelling different mezcals and those fragrances that take you back to those specific memories.
Yeah.
It's such an interesting. It's one of the reasons why I really fell in love with the spirit and this world. Because it's you're constantly being reminded about things, and
Absolutely.
And I think a really cool way to bring all that experience back into practice, what we're just mentioning, you mentioned to us that you are a current and have been for 5 years, I think, a judge for the LA Spirits.
Yeah, I actually am one of the founding judges from the first year. It's interesting. I was on the phone yesterday, I think it was, maybe the day before that, with Nicolette Teo, who's one of the founders. And we were talking about the first year, and the first year was actually during the pandemic. So we had our first ever LA Spirit Awards on Zoom. And we got this box that's the size of this building. Imagine tasting hundreds of spirits, tasting glasses, literally scorecards, everything that you need in this humongous box during a pandemic. But sign of the times,
I
man.
was gonna say that's probably cool, right? You're at home stuck, and then this giant box shows up, and it has spirits in
It
there.
also had cheese. And so the concern of it going bad to like cleanse your palate, crackers and cheese, it was interesting. It was interesting. So actually, I live in LA. So being an LA Spirit Awards judge, not everybody lives in LA. So for me, it was quite easy because I think they had a friend of a friend or somebody in the camp with the masks and the gloves delivered to my door. But it's just so interesting that, that we're just 5 years out of that,
Yeah.
right? It feels like, I think that we have, pushed it under the rug, if you would, and kept it moving out of whatever it may be, fear, remorse, whatever. But that was only 6 years ago. I trip out on that. Like,
Yeah.
and also when you take a look at spirits in general, I know that there's this big PR push that people aren't drinking, that the numbers are down. Doesn't really affect agave spirits. I mean, it does. Don't get me wrong, but agave, tequila specifically, #1 selling spirit in the world. But we went out of the pandemic where we over-indexed on every spirit possible. Things got happy, people got comfortable, so they started wanting to do wellness yoga and coffee raves, no drinking, right? So one of my predictions for 2026 going into 2027, that shit's going to the wayside. We need something to calm us. We need something to, I mean, that was cool. That was cute for a moment to be able to do zero proof and all of that great stuff, but people are going to start drinking like fishes again. It's escapism, it's soothing, it's, emotional calmness, if you would. So,
The second Roaring 20s.
And exactly, I was gonna say it's been around for hundreds of years, so something like that's not gonna go away so easy.
but yeah,
Um,
sorry, LA Spirit Awards, how that came about. One of the things that I love about LA Spirit Awards is that it's the first award show that has taken the initiative to create a judging panel that reflects today's palette. So, people of color, African American, Latino, Asian, LGBTQ, women, right? So the representation is very different. It's not the stodgy white man of some of the other awards show that wear a white coat. Like, it's not that at all. And it's for that reason why when I was engaged that I said, absolutely, I've been on a soapbox my entire career about representation of, industry people, bartenders, whatever it may be, of color, of diversity being in this scene, right? Being in this industry, I should say. And I've always worked really hard to ensure that there was a place at the bar, not the table, but a place at the bar for voices and palettes that reflect who we really are as a country.
I love that. And um, going back to like all that experience, just coming back into practice in the case of the LA Spirit Awards, what does that look like for you? What kind of, how do you bring your experience
Sure.
into judging? What do you look at a spirit? And maybe we could look at this spirit that we have here, no judging, but kind of walk us through like what you.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting because I think everybody brings a perspective. One of the things that I bring to the table is that I understand the industry 360. So I'm not just a spirits snob that just sips and tastes. I understand the commercial implications. I understand trade implications. How is this going to work with bartenders? I understand trends. I mean, we just talked about one right now. So understanding that there is going to be a huge surge of spirit consumptions, what do brands have to do now to prepare for that from a distributor standpoint, from a product standpoint? So I come 360. So as we're judging things, let's say, it's set up in tables. Obviously, it's blind judging. So we don't know what we're tasting. So we have no idea what brand it is. We have no idea who the purveyor is, none of that. So we're coming off of pure, instinct at that moment. And we have the hardcore folks that, are great judges and come specifically from that world. I mean, to be a judge, you obviously have to have an equal playing field of having some kind of clout. Otherwise, what the hell are you doing that, right? But when I go into this, I try to approach it not just from a taste profile, from a quality standpoint, but how does this brand function in the world? And that's partially what coming from when I launched Soul Hospitality Group, which is my other company.
Okay.
Right. So I launched Soul Hospitality Group in 2012. Like I mentioned before, I've worked with pretty much every major brand, lots of upcoming brands, RTDs. I've consulted. I've been on the brand side. I've pretty much done it all at this point. So again, what does that really mean? Like, there's multi perspectives that I come from when I'm sipping something, right? How do you bring this baby into the world? I will tell you this, after launching a physical product, my heart goes out to anybody who's attempting to create a physical product in the world, including these spirits, right? I mean, there's some houses that do it just for clout or just for the bank account, but in mezcal, this is literally ancestry, heritage, craft in a bottle, 5 generations deep. I think when we were talking, when I started to create the concept for mezcal, the fragrance, because we launched with the tequila collection, Blanco Reposado Añejo fragrance. And then I waited a year and a half to release mezcal. I engaged a gentleman that I want to give a shout out to. His name is Daniel, Daniel from San Bortolo. We actually met Daniel during the pandemic on, oh my God, what was I can't think of it. What is where you called, you were going live and there was people talking? Clubhouse.
Jesus, house.
Pardon my viejo, man. We actually met on Clubhouse, believe it or not, in like a tequila or mezcal room or something, and we stayed connected. So when I started to create this fragrance, I brought Daniel in not so much for the fragrance, but more so for the sacred and cultural support, instinct, guidance, if you would, ancestral. So, Daniel is a fifth generation mezcalero. And his family's brand is San Bortolo. So shout out to him because he has been really key for me, you know, digging into the essence of mezcal. Like I mentioned, the heritage, the sacredness, the family, the connection, the emotion. And so for that I'm super grateful. But that's the kind of things as well that I look for in a spirit.
All right. Well, with that said, why don't we give this a taste then? This is an Espadín. We have HonoriAmor. This is a brand that we like to work with closely here on the Mezcal Buzz Show. This is my friend Julian. Family is Rodriguez Ramirez out of Santa Maria Ecatepec. This is in the Chontal region of Oaxaca. So it's in the Sierra Sur, south of, almost in the valleys there. But family brand. They own all their agaves. Their family, they're like third or fourth generation cultivating agave. So then they started producing their own mezcal as well. And his brother made this mezcal here. So let's
Beautiful.
give it a taste. And Espadín, I like to say, don't sleep on a good Espadín, right?
Yeah, it's like a good Blanco.
Yeah.
Same thing. People sleep on Blancos all the time, but a real good Blanco, don't sleep on it. So excited for this one. Cheers, brother.
Salud.
Cheers.
I love the green. You definitely could taste green notes, which is nice. It's always fresh and sometimes it's hard on the nose. But this definitely has a beautiful green element on the top. Herbs. The herbaceousness is really nice. I think almost cilantro, which is
Oh, I like that too.
really nice.
Really fresh.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Greenness, yeah, that's what I meant, like the fresh greenness.
I get almost like a chamomile, not aroma, actually, flavor for me. I already tasted. I jumped ahead.
Let's taste. Wow, very perfumey, which I can appreciate.
Yeah, coming from you.
The floral and lavender, it's like lavender, the little lavender candies, right?
Yeah.
The middle to the back, you get this lavender note, which is super interesting. This is lovely.
I love to hear that and that perspective with you because it kind of leads us into one of our next segments that we'll be doing, but it also wants me to kind of get into your head as you're tasting, selecting these aromas and flavors. How does that translate over into mixology? How does that translate over into picking and choosing and building a cocktail?
Yep.
And I think we could go into that in our next segment where we'll introduce a cocktail that
Sure.
we could continue the conversation there.
Absolutely.
Does that sound good?
It's really interesting that you kind of were going in that direction. So I often tell people, whether it's spirits or fragrance, I actually smell in color. So when you said fresh, I said green. That's why. There's a technically a term for it. I don't know what the hell it is. All I know is that if things smell purple, if things smell, orange, like I smell in color. And that's everything, whether it's me spirits, a cocktail, or fragrance. People always ask, wow, fragrance and spirits. I'm like, they're not that far different.
No.
When you really take a look, right? First of all, the distillation of oils,
Processing.
very similar. The distillation of oils, the distillation of base, the mother base, if you would. And then the blending, the master blender, in a great, cognac or in a great blended, whiskey, whatever it may be from different barrels, that is the same process that a perfumer blends flavor. It's the same thing. And then it's bottled. And then we're nosing it.
Yeah.
The only thing you're not doing is tasting perfume. It's funny because like at festivals, tequila and mezcal festivals, as the afternoon goes on and people are like their 10th sample, right? can we drink this? I'm like, bro, I wouldn't do that if I were you. Like, that's not the intention. But
Definitely.
one of the things I really love about doing tequila and mezcal festivals is that I'm introducing fragrance to a whole new world, right? And, these guys are coming up. And I often ask, what are you wearing now? And of course, it's, a lot more of the commercial stuff that you can get at, Macy's, the YSL, even Gucci's. And I'm like, bro, you have $5,000 boots. You have a belt buckle that is more than money in my bank account. You have a cowboy hat. Like, let's step it up. Your car is popping. Let's step it up. Like, let me teach you a little bit about fragrance. And they become believers. So I'm able to kind of elevate without judgment, elevate and educate on fragrance the way that most of these brands are educating on mezcal and tequila at a festival. So it's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Well, what did you think about this mezcal? Can we build a cocktail with this?
absolutely.
Amazing.
Shall we?
Yeah. Well, we'll be right back. We're going to go whip up a cocktail, and we'll be right back with Joseph Solis. And we're back. We're here with Joseph Solis, and we've just whipped up the cocktail. It's the Maison Solis signature mezcal cocktail.
Correct.
Missing a couple ingredients today, but we may do. And tell us a little bit about kind of how this pairs with the actual fragrance.
Sure.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I do, and I take it around the country, it's called the Maison Solis Experience, right? The two-hour event. In that 2 hour, the first half hour is welcome cocktails. So I take the notes of the fragrances and literally build them back up into cocktails. So for the mezcal, and we'll smell it in a little bit so you can kind of understand the notes. On the top notes is fig and passion fruit. So I took those out of there as well. And then on the base there's some middle notes of black tea, black peppercorn, and then in the base is believe it or not, seaweed, and we'll talk about why later, but there's also Islay Scotch for that, peatiness, if you would, that's found in mezcal. So we actually spray with a vintage perfume bottle Scotch over the top of the cocktail, so you get like the full essence. So most of these ingredients are in this cocktail, right?
Yeah.
I love the way you explained that process too of coming to what this cocktail is, of like almost what's the word I'm looking for?
Deconstructing
a fragrance.
Yeah.
And then putting it back in here. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Excited.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, Jack.
Cheers.
Nice.
I do it justice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And describe to us, this is really good. Thank you, Jack. Describe to us what that experience is like. Is it, I just lost my brain. I'm tasting all the flavors.
Yeah.
Describe
Smells
this-
anything.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how do you interlace the fragrance into this experience?
Yeah.
What can someone expect in this? And then let us know where, so that they can find out where to.
Part of that experience is it's actually a sit-down experience. It's white glove. So basically, entrees come out with tequila or mezcal and the fragrance together, and it's placed on a tasting mat the same way that you would taste spirits. And I take them through a whole sensorial experience. One of the things that we do, and I do this a lot in my, spirits education in general, is that if we shut down one sensory, it actually adds to another. So I ask people if they want to shut their eyes, close your eyes. Sometimes we'll even do it with, something on your eyes so you don't even know what you're tasting, so that you can focus again on the palate, right? So I basically take people through, we nose the fragrance first. And then we nose the spirit in its natural form. So no cocktails. Cocktails are up front, and there is an añejo toast at the end. But for the actual sensorial experience and the pairing, it's neat. And it's served next to each other. We go through. That's when I weave in the story of each. So it's about 10 minutes per, skew, if you would. We start with Blanco, we go into Reposado, we go into Añejo, and then we end with Mezcal. So, we will be launching our next fragrance in the collection. I can't say what it is yet, but it will definitely be within the agave collection. So look out for that.
That's awesome.
And for someone like myself who, I consider myself a beginner when it comes to agave spirits and still developing my palate. I assume that a lot of people that come to these events are on that beginner side. I mean, I'm sure there's a mix, but as a beginner, how do you explain to someone that's still developing their palate?
That's a really good question. So a couple things. We launched the fragrances on July 24th, National Tequila Day, at Tales of the Cocktail. So in the room was nothing but hardcore MFs, like literally, like we can talk about yeast strains in the soil if I wanted to. So it was a combination of bartenders, obviously experts, and editors from around the world. So that conversation was obviously much deeper. It was more so about the story because they already know agave spirits, distillation, aging, I mean, all of it, right?
Yeah.
So, but, I definitely want to fill the room a lot and start with what is tequila. Believe it or not, some people have no idea. They drink it, vodka, like a vodka soda, tequila and soda, and have no idea what goes into it. So we start with the story of agave, excuse me. And then, from there we sort of build can only do so much in 2 hours, but a mini education into each of the products. Yeah.
Amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I was mentioning to you, like for us, we play in 2 different spaces, which is really interesting. So we play in wine and spirits, specifically within tequila, mezcal, agave, but we also play in the fragrance world. So we do tons of cross-pollination all the time. And even, January was dry January. So our sales didn't come from people, we got sales from people who wanted the fragrance but not drink the alcohol, if that makes any sense. So it switches, they go back and forth. And again, the same way that we elevate through education on the agave side about perfume, we educate about tequila and mezcal on the perfume side. And if you're an adorer and you're passionate and you nerd out like me, you're going to love the story and the connection, I think.
Cool. I think another cool thing where the connection continues and being rooted in cocktail and luxury. Another cool piece is I want to share that the the bar set that you have here, it also takes place in what we're talking about here in the cocktails and everything.
Absolutely. So again, I think I mentioned earlier, Maison Solis was launched with bar essentials. So I tell this story. It's actually really funny. After the pandemic, went straight into doing, these events that I have been known to do, 3,000 people batching for, 10,000 cocktails, team of 14 bartenders. And I remember it being like 3 o'clock in the morning after a 16-hour day, limping around like, damn, Joseph, you got to figure some shit out because you can't be doing, I would need to leave this to the young guys. Like, seriously, like what, more importantly, beyond the physical and, obviously the maturation, we'll call it, right? Like, what else do you want to do in life? I firmly believe that, like, your creativity or what you do is a gift from God, and what you do with that creativity is your gift back. So I feel like sometimes we have a responsibility to create this beautiful gift that we've been given, right? Whatever it may be. It can be baking, it can be landscape. It doesn't matter. Like, we were all given this gift, and what we do with that is our gift back, right? So with that, I'm standing there like, okay, Joseph, what do you want to do? Well, I've been in cocktails for 20 something years. I obviously use bar tools. How do I weave in my heritage? And I just started doing research and started figuring out, like, okay, what is in the luxury space? You have the major brands like, Donna Karan and Calvin Klein, who are doing shaker sets. They also do handbags. Like, a lot of people often ask me, like, wait, Maison Solis, you're doing bar essentials, but then you also have perfume. And I said, why not? Like, if you take a look at these legendary houses, like I said, Donna Karan, Calvin Klein, they have bar essentials, they have fragrance, they have apparel, they have home goods, they have glassware. Why not? I don't believe in putting myself in boxes. And I hope that nobody else does. We weren't built that way, right? Expand, be inspired, like take some time out to really chart and map what makes you happy, what brings you joy, and then just do it. But a lot of times there's disconnect. Like the perfume side is like, wait, why do you have shakers? You're a perfume. Or the cocktail side is like, well, why do you have perfume? Well, this is why we're sitting here talking about this. It makes total sense.
It absolutely makes sense.
And these are just beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah. So, built out a fourth generation copper coopers that I mentioned to you in the mountains of Michoacán, in the copper region, all handmade, all hand painted, literally from a flat piece of copper. So unique, one of a kind. No one will ever own a set like yours because it's literally hand painted. So,
And where if someone's interested in getting one of these,
sure. Yeah. So we're predominantly a direct to consumer company. So MaisonSolis.com, www.maisonsolis.com. Fragrances and bar essentials and actual events as well. So knowing what city we're coming to, if we're doing events, giveaways, promotions, affiliate programs. We can go on and on.
Amazing. And we'll put that link in the description as well.
That's because I don't know if I was going to, sort of, be too premature with it, but I do want to extend a promotion with your viewers, listeners, followers, etc., that we can talk about at the end. But I want to extend for our Mezcal fragrance a special promotion exclusively to you guys for having me here.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And
then stay tuned for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with that said, I think let's move on to the fragrances. I think we'd like to go in deep to the fragrance. You have an exercise for us to share. So should we do that?
Yeah, we'll be right back with Joseph Solis and some fragrances.
Awesome. Let's do it.
Cool, and we're back with Joseph Solis, and we've got your Mezcal perfume, cologne.
Fragrance. Perfume, eau de parfum. So I'll kind of take you through fragrance really quickly because this is technically an extrait de parfum, and I'll explain what that is, right? So basically, in the fragrance world, there is eau de toilette. So if you go to Macy's, you put that on, and by the time you get back to the car, it's off your skin. That's probably about 8% oil if you're lucky, right? The rest is all alcohol, which is why it lasts 2 minutes, okay? So that's like eau de toilette. Then there's technically cologne, which can be up to about 13% oil. Next is an eau de parfum, and that is the tequila collection, anywhere between 18 to 20% oil. The biggest trend in the last year or two has been extrait de parfum. Think the word extrait extra, right?
Okay.
So literally 25% plus oil. So it's very robust. But it always doesn't mean better perfume. And I'll explain that. Like we tested this at really high oil and it just didn't work. So we had to adjust it accordingly for it to actually come together and blend well, right? Imagine if you are a master blender in spirits and you use the 300-year aged over all the others. It's not going to be balanced. You need to bring in some Hovens. You need to bring in, to make a symphony. So that's kind of 101. So yes, you can say perfume. But this is Maison Solis Mezcal. As I mentioned to you guys, we launched with the tequila-inspired fragrances that are eau de parfum, blanco, reposado, añejo. I partnered with a gentleman by the name of Ethan Turner, who is my perfume partner, my fragrance brother. He is a sommelier turned perfumer. So the fact that he comes from wine, I came from spirits, there was literally no learning curve for us. We just kind of jumped in and trusted each other.
Yeah, I feel like you guys had like a leg up on newcomers.
Yeah, I mean, we cut off the learning curve and just kind of jumped in. And I think he's done a really great job. There's something in the fragrance world called a perfume brief. And that's probably the most important thing in the process. It can be 10 pages. Mine was 43 pages.
Wow.
but you have to paint the story. Literally, what is the story? What does it need to feel like? Everything, mood boards, color scheme. I mean, you're dumping everything in your brain and ideally in your heart onto paper that I can hand off to a technical for specs. Similar to fashion, kind of spirits, I guess, a little bit. Not really, but you're basically creating your brand essence and your baby to then become, in real life, to be born. So we started with the brief. It was very, very important to me that this fragrance was not hyped like tequila. And again, I get paid from that. So all I'm saying is that we don't see celebrity endorsements on mezcal. I mean, I think there's probably a couple out there, but I like to think that mezcal is still of the gente. It's of the people. It literally is a spirit to me that is still sacred and indigenous, right? So I wanted to make sure that the first thing that we did is acknowledge and set the tone that we were working in the spirit and connecting to the source, if you would, of mezcal, right? So if anything else, I didn't want to do be some token bullshit. Oh my God, mezcal, like let's, I went to Oaxaca and I, drank this elixir. Like, no, this had to have been grounded. So we took a long time and we took our time to be able to create. We also had to create in fragrance, there's something called an accord. I'm not going to nerd out and take a lot of time, but an accord, like some people have bourbon in a bourbon accord in their perfume. Somebody built an accord that you start with the base. We didn't have an accord to start with, so we had to create an agave chord. So you're going to find that on the top note. So we'll jump into the fragrance. I kind of wanted to paint the picture. If I could go a little bit deeper, imagine if you would, you're in Oaxaca, right? Obviously the Sierra Madre, the mountains. You're going to be able to feel like you're at the essence. You can smell the agave, you can smell the smoke, you can smell the town, you can smell the essence. So that's kind of what we were going for. I'm going to spray this out for you guys so that we can start talking through the different points.
Yeah, and while you're doing that, I mean, I think, how do you approach, because fragrance is so personal to each individual, and people come into it with their own palate, and they're going to smell things differently. So I guess I'm leading the question, but the story is really the most important part that you're trying to tell, right?
Yes. Fragrance is about 90% storytelling. Because what's happening in fragrance right now is that there are a lot of dupes, and what that really means. So just so you guys know, I can't copyright the juice. We can't. It's legally you can't copyright.
Oh, okay.
So there's a lot of dupe houses that create knockoffs of an original one, right? What I know of right now, we literally are no dupe of nobody, thank God. If we're good enough, then, what is the term?
Imitation is the
greatest form of flat iron. So yes, let's jump in on this right now. So basically, honestly, guys, I should have probably sprayed this out about 20 minutes ago because there's something in perfume called the dry down.
Okay.
And that takes about, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. But this will actually change on the skin probably 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
I'll take you through it now. Maybe at the end when we finish up the segment, we can go through and see how it's changed. And if you guys are open to it, you could probably try it on skin.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be a completely different experience. But for this one, on the top, so there's 3 sort of channels, 3 buckets, 3 angles, right? One with perfume. Top note, middle note, heart, and then base. Okay, so for this one, guys, cheers. On this one, top notes, fig, passion fruit, linden blossom, and it's something called mandrake. And to get that, believe it or not, it was almost the essence. It's not going to make any sense in the room, but carrot. But on the top, you can probably pick up the passion fruit and you can pick up the fig, right? So taking you through the middle notes, cracked black pepper, black tea, right? Tobacco leaf, a touch of rose, and a little bit of coconut, believe it or not.
Yeah,
that kind of gives the creaminess. Yeah, the tobacco leaf.
tobacco's coming through, yeah.
Yeah, but on the base, which I think is absolutely beautiful, I had to get this part right. Mezcal is very peaty, similar to a scotch, right? So on the base, you have Islay Scotch, and I was mentioning that, there's a base of a spirit in all of our collection. The Blanco has an eau de vie of cognac. Our Reposado blend has a base of charred whiskey barrel. Our Añejo has a base of sweet Caribbean rum. So for this one, it's Islay Scotch. But there's two other notes in here that I think you guys will appreciate. One of them is red Japanese seaweed.
Oh, interesting.
And the reason being is that we needed a touch of nautical. In Oaxaca, you still actually get some of that ocean breeze coming through the mountains that actually affect the agave. So we wanted to capture that as well. And then, of course, there's smoke and earthy notes. So all of these literally dance on the skin, and they change multiple times in the experience. There's about anywhere from 12 to 14 hours on skin, because it is an extrait de parfum. There's also something called sillage, which means when you walk into a room, what is the trail that you leave? So there's about 10 to 12 feet if you walk in, 10 to 12 feet of the sillage. I know I'm going a little deep.
No, I'm recording these one by one. That's cool.
You guys are going to be fragrance experts when we're done. So yeah, this is our blend. It is one of the most unique fragrances, I think, in the world. And I'm not just saying that. I'm also a collector. I have a storage unit, 2 of them. One with spirits that I've collected around the world, and one with perfume. So I'm not just some guy that said, hey, I want a fragrance. I actually collect.
Oh, that's amazing.
So this is one of the most unique and I would say like mesmerizing fragrances that I've ever smelled. I wear this constantly. It's my baby. I'll put it on in the morning, 5 o'clock. I'm driving. I'm like, what is that note? Something else came out. So it constantly changes, just like a good mezcal.
Yeah. We were talking earlier about how we can just like sniff a mezcal just constantly instead of even drinking it, and like the same thing. Like I can't stop.
Yeah, I was about
Like I'd like as I'm sitting here, I can tell like things are starting to change. I'm hitting other notes. Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about fragrance is that if you put that on skin and you put that on skin, completely different experiences.
Yeah, and I was gonna ask on that when you're saying on skin. So I'm not like in the fragrance world and know how like I spray.
Perfect.
Is a fragrance supposed to be on your skin before you get dressed, or is it like I'll like spray myself when I'm wearing, right?
Yeah, that's a good argument. I mean, people, there's arguments that it should be 6 spritzes. Some people, I do 2, just because I don't. With this one, you only need 2. But some people, when you walk in a room, you're offensive. Like I don't want to be that, right? Like I like to, and I can only speak for myself. I like to put on what I call passion points. These are pulse points that put out heat. Sometimes I'll put it here. Whatever you do, don't rub. That's not the intention. Let it dry natural. Here's a really good point as well. I technically do somewhere in the neck and even on the back of the neck, because that's actually another passion point as well. But like I say, do you. If you want to put it somewhere else, cochinadas, by all means, feel free to put it wherever you want it. Like I like to think in perfume, there's no rules. That's a big one for me. I mean, you can put it on clothing. You can put it on, I put it actually on my manifestation bracelets, and it lasts hours. So, there's probably a more technical side, but as you can see, I'm far from being a technical guy. So whatever floats your boat, as long as you smell good.
You said cochinadas right now, and you had to have seen that meme of the friend that abuses the friend's cologne and they put bleach in it.
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh, I'll have to send that to you. Then he like shows up like he went to put on cologne again, and he has like all these little spots everywhere, and he has no clue because he just sprayed me like, bro. I'll send that to you.
That's awesome.
But I wanted to follow up with that as far as how does the experience translate into the spirits then? Describe to us how, like I'm imagining right now, this smells great. I do smell essence of mezcal in there. How does that go?
I have an idea.
Sure.
Rather than me tell you, let us show you.
Fantastic.
Right? So I would love to see if you guys can pick some of the mezcals that you guys like and literally do. And I'll sit back. You told me which ones, and let's go back and forth and see which, like if you can pick one, you pick one, and you guys pick one for me together. Let's come back, and then let's just go back and forth and see what notes translate.
Sounds good.
That work?
Awesome. All right. Cool. All right. Yeah, we're back. We poured up a couple mezcals, and we're gonna continue taking us through this experience.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. What do we have here?
So I poured up a tepestate. This is by Marcos Brena in San Luis Amatlan. And this one, I think, and I'll share this one with you because we all have 3 different ones, but I feel like this mezcal to me gives like an ocean kind of aroma, a little bit of a briny aroma. And if you'd like, I'll give you this to smell because for you, we got a tell me what you think of that. And I don't know.
Oh my God, this is beautiful. What a great selection.
Yeah.
Who's this again?
This is Marcos Brena in San Luis Amatlan. And this is the tepestate. Yeah.
Try that back and forth. It's perfect.
Oh, yeah. Jack. Jack.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah, it's right on.
It's pretty dead
The
on.
brininess.
Right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, what I really love. Yeah, you're right. The aquatic and the raw agave, the chord, really come out in this. That's wonderful.
Cool.
I love it.
Cool. Yeah. And then I got a Guerrero Borrero. And we've had this a couple times on the show, but I picked it. I think he went with the brininess. I think I went more with the floral, the passion fruit.
Nice.
The sweeter. And you can kind of smell that. Or it could be
That's the cupreata right there. Mm-hmm.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dead on. Good job. That's awesome, you guys. You should go on the road with this. This is really nice. There's also a lot of caramel notes in here, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let me see that. Yeah, the cupreatas and Guerrero is very like cooked agave caramel.
Yep.
Yeah, the fruit, the passion.
Mm-hmm. Just a little bit.
Yeah, this is interesting.
Sweet.
Right?
Yeah.
And you know what's really cool about, like I had mentioned to you guys, the festivals that we go to. One of the things that I do is I actually give this to people as they come to the booth to sample fragrances. And I tell them, go around the entire festival and pair this, if it's Blanco, pair it with Blancos all around the room and see what notes you can get from each. People come back to like, yo, you just created a crazy experience, but the brands come back and say, wow, like that's really cool. And that really speaks to our ethos of supporting the community, pumping each other up, creating, dual experiences that benefit everybody. So it's really cool.
I like that. I don't want to say wrap us up here, but like fill us in then what the experience is like. Then how does that continue, and what does that look like for brands that want to participate?
Yeah.
Continue this.
So for this one, the next thing we would do would be to taste. So is your senses on your nose different than your palate? Do you pick up something in there that you didn't pick up on the nose, but from the essence of the fragrance you got on the palate? So we would.
So should I
There.
lick it? Now here we go. Let's.
It might be different. So sometimes it's closer, sometimes it goes left or right. And there's one funny thing that I always tell people when it comes to nosing, whether it be spirits or fragrance, right? Respect your own perspective. We have all these brands and marketing, millions of dollars, and people and influencers telling you should be smelling that. Absolutely not. I say as long as it's not toothpaste or tuna fish, anything in the middle actually is open game, right? So respect your palate. Like learn to develop your palate and learn to appreciate what you got.
Absolutely.
I think that resonates a lot with me because sometimes I feel like I lack the confidence to like speak on flavors or fragrances and yeah, it's just
or even spirits.
Yeah, or spirits. Like,
when I'm at like Tales of the Cocktail or BCB with these global experts, and I'm like, should I be like, fuck that? Yeah, like I come from a different perspective.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick up a Guajillo chile. I'm gonna pick up, some adobo from the Filipino side. I'm gonna pick up coconut. Like, other people don't have that, and that's what makes us us.
Absolutely. And I like to also mention when we're doing tastings and stuff like that, you mentioned earlier like the different memories that we have in aromas, the same as in taste, and like there's 5 tastes that we all pick up. There's sweet, right? There's salty,
sour,
bitter, and umami.
correct.
In there, the flavor is what's different to everybody. Your culture, your background. I eat very spicy food. My wife eats very sour, loves lemon. So like we all know what sweet and sour tastes like, but how does your palate receive it? And it'll be different from what she likes. I'll give her some mezcales like, this is fantastic. And she's like, well, no, I don't know about that. And it's like, cool.
Yeah,
We taste the same thing.
the first time that I did like an amaro or aperitif training way back in the day, like it was my New York days, and I think we tasted a chartreuse, and I was like, and I realized culturally there on both sides there is literally nothing bitter in our maybe bitter orange if you're Cuban, you're marinating for your bistec or pollo encebollado. But there was nothing in my repertoire from my entire life that was bitter. So I was thrown off. I said, I don't think I can do a good job. I don't even know how to apply and no disrespect to bitter, but I don't know how to do that. So, again, but then you learn and you appreciate and you grow and, that kind of thing. So, yeah, definitely.
Cool.
All right, guys, this was awesome.
Yeah. Well, as we're wrapping up here, I know you had mentioned that you want to do a promo with us.
Absolutely.
How can our viewers take advantage of this?
So it's going to be really simple. I'm sure you guys can put it up. I'm going to do a 20% off on the Mezcal fragrance, and actually all of our fragrances. So the promo code, and I'm sure you'll have it at the bottom or somewhere, Mezcal Buzz 20, pretty simple, right? And that will run for 2 weeks after this airs.
Amazing.
And that's just because I really want to make sure that what we did, people have a chance to do with their mezcal as well, right? Because it's super fun. You know what I mean? And also as an homage to the culture to be able to spread the love and, the admiration for mezcal.
Excellent. And to add to that, and thank you very much, because I think that's a great gesture. And again, as you mentioned, to like bring the community together and grow this and proliferate these experiences that we're having here. Where can somebody learn to see where you're going to be next, what you're at a lot of festivals, events, and the experiences?
So we are, first of all, www.maisonsolis.com, MAISONSOLIS.com. So everything that's where our e-commerce site is. You can purchase anything. You can join our affiliate program, our newsletter, all of that good stuff. All the socials at Maison Solis, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, etc., etc. So,
Cool.
And one funny thing I forgot to leave out that I mentioned earlier. Why Maison Solis? Why the name Maison?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I've worked in French luxury probably 2/3 of my career. So French spirits, right? And what I learned is that Maison is a house, right? So somebody asked me, why didn't you call your brand Casa Solis? And I said, well, that sounds like my tia's restaurant down the block where she's making handmade tortillas, right? Listen, I'm all about a handmade tortilla. I'm all about my tia's restaurant. But sometimes two virtues of mine, get in where you fit in, fake it till you make it. And that's what's got me where I'm at. So Maison, the name, being that fragrance is dominated by French, the French, it puts me in spaces that I can come in and then be Casa Solis within Maison Solis.
Fantastic. I love that. And with that said, thank you for joining us here and providing us this amazing experience. Can't wait to share this with others. You guys don't forget that code, Mezcal Buzz 20.
Mezcal Buzz 20, www.maisonsolis.com. I can be followed at JD Solis, JDSOLAS. This was incredible, you guys. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for being open. I know this is probably a little different than what you guys have done in the past, but I appreciate this. I appreciate your platform, and I appreciate you guys, man. Thank you.
Oh, well, likewise. And yeah, we're trying to, broaden our horizons and get agave adjacent guests on here all season. So
Cool.
This was an amazing first episode.
Awesome. Well, there you have it. As always, you guys, thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Salud.